Happy college football weekend. It's time to get you covered. Buckle up for the biggest weekend of the year. 6 on the slate. Let's rock and roll. Friday night lights for Arizona State. Are the Sun Devils poised to pitchfork a top 25 win in Tempe?
Clemson has been an absolute freight train in the ACC. Do the Tigers keep it rolling in Winston-Salem against struggling Wake Forest?
Winners in Vegas a week ago. Does Syracuse have the firepower for a feisty win at NC State?
Autzen Stadium plays host to a battle of the Titans in prime time. Will it be the Bucks or the Ducks pulling out a top 3 win on Saturday night in Eugene?
We're talking all that and more on this spirited Friday morning from the Moss Art Center studios here in Blacksburg. I'm Giovanni alongside Raza Umerani. Well, we took a couple of weeks off due to our busy traveling schedules, and maybe the rest is just what we needed.
I mean, we're talking back-to-back 1 and 5 weeks before we left. A 6 and 12 start to the year. And listen, that time off has changed our philosophy. This season, we've been all about, picking the biggest games on the schedule, but that's no longer going to be the case. Even for the most stacked slate of the year this week. We're going to go back to trusting our guns and sticking with the teams and with the plays that we know best. So with that being said,
it's time for your weekly bout with the books.
We're at least going to attempt to show Vegas who's boss.
Give me my theme music. We kick off our Week 7 slate just down I-77 for an ACC clash as number 10 Clemson rolls into Winston-Salem for a noon kick against Wake Forest.
Remember when Clemson opened the season getting steamrolled by Georgia and then everybody panicked and abandoned ship? These Tigers sure don't. Since that fateful day in August, Clemson has not just been one of the most impressive teams in the ACC, but in the entire country, particularly on offense. They rank top 6 in the league in every single offensive category, as Cade Klubnik has finally seemed to figure this thing out. He's got 14 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions, while boasting a top 5 QBR in the nation. Wake, on the other hand, well, they're Wake. They have the worst passing defense in the Power 4, the worst total defense in the ACC, and the worst defensive success rate against the pass in the country. Even after the Deacs' comeback win over NC State last week, all signs point towards this being one of the biggest blowouts of the weekend.
The Tigers are back. Give us the big number and book it, baby. Clemson -20.
Is anyone paying attention to what's happening in Central New York right now? Giovanni sure is, and you should be too, because Syracuse is 4-1 and looking to keep the wins rolling with a road trip to NC State on tap this Saturday night.
What first-year head coach Fran Brown has done at Syracuse overnight is the epitome of how fast a program can rebuild in the new era of collegiate athletics. The Orange have the most talented roster to lace them up in the Dome in decades, and it all starts with their quarterback. Ohio State transfer Kyle McCord has exceeded expectations, ranking 4th nationally in passing yards and 2nd in passing touchdowns. Even more impressive, he's done it in 1 less game than anybody ranked above him. Syracuse is battle-tested with 2 ranked wins in 5 games. Wolfpack, on the other hand, well, they've not lived up to their lofty expectations. In fact, NC State possesses the worst scoring defense in the ACC. With McCord under center and a deep system of weapons around him, we'd like Cuse to come away with a big one down in Raleigh.
Listen, no matter the size, a Wolfpack can't squeeze an Orange. They don't have opposable thumbs, after all. Book it, baby. Syracuse -3.
Let's keep it in the Atlantic coast. Kinda. How about them Panthers? Number 22 Pitt is off to a 5-0 start as Cal has to make that cross-country trek for a 3:30 kick in the 4-1-2.
We all collectively owe Pat Narduzzi an apology. We were unfamiliar with his game. After being picked to finish 13th in the ACC, Pitt is off to its best start in over 3 decades thanks to redshirt freshman quarterback Eli Holstein. The rookie has the Panthers offense on top of the ACC with a top 6 scoring offense in the nation. Don't get me wrong, we really like Cal here at 3304 Sports. Maybe we would have liked them more had they not blown a 25-point second-half lead last week against Miami. Listen, the Golden Bears are a good team, but a loss like that can deflate a program, especially when you have to fly all the way back across the U.S. Not to mention, Fernando Mendoza is the most sacked quarterback in the Power 4. And then there's the cherry on top of this Allegheny-based dessert. Pitt is a perfect 5-0 against the spread in 2024.
Give us Pitt to start the season 6-0 for the first time in 42 years. The last time it happened, Dan Marino was taking snaps for the Panthers. Book it, baby. Pitt -3.
Grab your sand goggles because we're headed back to the desert for a Friday night fight in Tempe as upstart Arizona State looks to play spoiler against number 16 Utah.
Man, it's something about these journalism schools suddenly being able to play football. Don't worry, the Hokies are on a bye. In all seriousness, Kenny Dillingham is really building something out there in a conference that many believe could be anybody's for the taking. The Sun Devils are 4-1 against the spread and boast the top 5 scoring offense in the Big 12. ASU is led by bowling ball tailback Cam Scatabo, who ranks top 6 in the country in rushing. Utah, on the other hand, well, it's reliving its worst nightmare with question marks at quarterback as Cam Rising struggles to stay healthy. Whether he goes or not, the Utes will lean on their stout defense and make things messy in the trenches. That very well might be enough for them to steal this ball game, but we aren't playing the money lines here. The Sun Devils should have enough to at least cover this thing on Friday night.
Hey, it's scary season, and Gio and I know to fear the fork. Go ahead and book it, baby. Arizona State, plus 5.5.
This one has been circled on the calendar since schedules came out last November. With 2 AP top 3 teams, this has Game of the Year written all over it. In all likelihood, this could be the first of many meetings between the two. It's number 2 Ohio State. It's number 3 Oregon. It's the biggest game in the Big Ten with the eyes of the nation fixated on Eugene.
As Oregon head coach Dan Lanning once said, this game is played on grass. But if it was played on paper, then maybe Ohio State would be the number 1 team in college football. The Buckeyes have the best EPA margin in the country on both sides of the ball, and it's come by playing old school Big Ten football. This defense is otherworldly in terms of both talent and scheme, ranking at the top of the FBS in both total yards and scoring. While the other side of the ball doesn't have the gaudiest numbers in the world, they can run the dang rock with Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson, a matchup that plays into Ohio State's hands. And it helps to have perhaps the best true freshman in the country out wide in Jeremiah Smith. Listen, we all know Oregon has an elite roster, but considering some early season teeter-tottering, we need to see them put together a statement win in the Big Ten before actually picking them to do so.
This is one of those games that really could go either way. But with that being said, they say that defense travels. I'm riding with the best defense in the entire country. Book it, baby. Brutus and the Buckeyes, -3.
And now for our super selection of the week, we're headed back to the mountains of Provo, Utah for another Big 12 battle, as undefeated BYU plays host to Arizona in a clash of CFP hopefuls.
I'll say it, BYU is good, and the 14th ranked Cougars seem poised to make some noise in a wide open Big 12. In fact, they already have. Just 2 weeks ago, BYU opened some eyes with a blowout win over then number 13 Kansas State. The Cougs possess the top strength of record in the FBS and boast the top 3 total in scoring defense in the Big 12. They're also top 15 in the country in forced turnovers as well. Arizona, however, well, they've been up and down with a ranked win over a backup quarterback Utah team and losses to Kansas State and Texas Tech. Consistency is key, and BYU has delivered just that, sitting at 5-0 against the spread so far this season.
Gio and I are going to learn from the mistakes we made in the first half of the season. That includes putting some respect on BYU's name. With that, we say book it, baby. Cougs, -3.
So with that, let's recap. We like Clemson and Syracuse to show the research triangle who's boss.
Give us Arizona State and Pitt to keep their Cinderella seasons alive.
We're taking Brutus and the Buckeyes to win a tight one on the road at Oregon.
And with our super selection of the week, we're taking BYU to stay unblemished with a big win over Zona.
Hey, we'll see you right back here next week for another Saturday slate.
We are hoping and praying that this week goes better than the last 2. But until then, when they call, you be sure to tell them, we got it covered.